Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Ryan Hebrink. I'm the Watershed Protection Manager over the Water Quality Compliance team here in the Environmental Monitoring and Compliance Division. And I'm happy to be facilitating today's talk. I'm excited. This is already the 18th installment of this City of Creeks learning series. It's kind of hard to believe we're already up to that many. We started these talks last year in 2022, and the goal is to create a shared foundation of knowledge among our division and really beyond. We record these sessions for future editing by our department videographer, Patrick Reister, and then they're posted to the Watershed Protection Department's YouTube page. So really out there for anyone to check out and learn more about what we do here. So today we'll be learning about some of the different types of routine inspections that happen in the Watershed Protection Department that are conducted with the purpose of identifying sources of pollution and then intervening to correct those problems and protect watershed health. Those different types of inspections happen under a broad umbrella that we call the Stormwater Inspection Program, and these ones are implemented by the Water Quality Compliance team. Many of you know this team is commonly referred to around our department as the Spills team. And while these are the same individuals that do maintain the spills program and respond to emergency spills 24/7, these team members wear somewhat of a different hat while doing the inspection work. And we think of this as the important proactive work and really the other side of the services that come out of this section. Many of the inspection types you'll hear about satisfy requirements for the city's stormwater permit with the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. That's also known as our MS4 permit. But these inspections serve a purpose that go far beyond just checking a box to keep us in compliance with the state. And the general idea why we call them stormwater inspections is when rain falls down from the sky and lands where certain activities occur, activities that we regulate and have deemed as high-risk activities, that stormwater will then run off of that land and into the city's storm sewer and into our local waterways. And the purpose of the inspections is to do our best to ensure that that water that's running off is clean and free of pollutants. And that, of course, supports our vision for a healthy watershed for all. I want to connect this work of the Stormwater Inspection Program back to the very first City of Creeks session. This is where Mateo Scoggins delivered a presentation on urban watersheds like ours here in Austin. And during that talk, we learned about different drivers that influence watershed health. And Mateo introduced this concept of a functional pyramid for urban watersheds. So where do these stormwater inspections fit in on the pyramid, and where exactly here in this pyramid are we trying to affect change with our work? And primarily it's over here on this side with the humans. Through our regulatory oversight and maintaining a presence with these businesses, educating business owners and operators, the staff at these businesses on the best practices for environmental protection so they can go about doing their work and providing their products and services in a way that is compatible with our goals for healthy watersheds. And these inspections aim to really guide those human behaviors to support a desired outcome. And that outcome, if we're successful, would be to prevent and reduce the discharge of pollutants. And that falls under this physicochemistry band here. And the result of that work would then have an effect on the biology or the tier above in our watershed. I'm thrilled today to be joined by several program experts, and they will help highlight how these programs work. I'd like to introduce today's speakers. Renee Avila will describe the City of Austin's own stormwater discharge permit program, and later we will hear from Renee again on semi-public pools, as well as how we handle requests to discharge anything other than stormwater to our creeks. Wallace Myers will provide an overview of the inspections we do at the more industrial, state-permitted, multi-sector general permit sites. Lauren Parrish will tell us about the efforts to monitor City of Austin facilities and operations for stormwater compliance. This is like taking a look in our own backyard, so to speak. And then kindly filling in for Chris Miller, Tom Ennis joins us today, and he will speak about coal tar and other pavement sealants that can be a significant source of pollution in our environment. Peter Yoas will explain how we screen stormwater outfalls during periods of dry weather to find suspect flows like cross connections. And finally, I'll be sharing a little bit about our work to address problems from restaurants and bars. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Renee.
Hello, everybody. The Stormwater Discharge Permit Program has been in existence since 1987 and conduct inspections of specific commercial and industrial operations within the city of Austin limits to ensure compliance with city, state, and federal codes which protect water quality. Inspectors verify proper storage and disposal of waste products and ensure spills cleanup procedures are appropriate. The SDPP program also locates, verifies, and monitors plumbing connections to the city's storm sewer system and waterways to prevent illegal discharges of commercial and industrial waste. A permit is issued to the facilities on an annual basis. And types of facilities that we inspect include motor rebuilding and repair, machine shop services, transmission rebuilding and repair, radiator repair, fuel storage and dispensing, general auto, truck, aircraft, boat, and equipment repair, ready-mix concrete companies, chemical manufacturing and storage, and auto salvage. Priority 1, 2, and 3 are assigned to regulated services depending on the severity and amount of waste stored, and they are inspected every 1 to 3 years. Currently, we have 950 facilities in the program, all within the city of Austin. And then some of the information we obtain when we do the inspections are general business information, responsible parties and the type of operation, waste information, where are they stored, what types of waste they have and disposal, spill cleanup procedures, regular maintenance procedures. And we check structural controls, make sure that they're all in good condition, working, and no contamination is found. Sorry. We do walkarounds at the facility, and we notate any problems that we see, that we find, and we work with the responsible party to try to get these things resolved. It's usually for 1 to 14 days, and then we'll just do a follow-up to verify compliance. Last year, we had a compliance rate of about 80%. We attribute this high rate because of, I guess, we maintain a presence and businesses know what we want and what's required of them. And legal action is taken against code violators when necessary, but we try to get compliance without having to go to legal. Some of the common problems that we find are improper storage of basically waste, liquids, and also improper storage of greasy auto parts, and also disposal of, I guess, liquids, waste oil, gasoline, and such. Another common problem is abandoned drums, basically out in the middle of nowhere. Also, drums that aren't properly labeled. We also find a lot of facilities that really don't clean spills. They just leave them there for, I guess, the rainwater to wash off. We also look, like I mentioned earlier, we also look at their drains and BMPs that they might have. But if we do find interior drains that are connected to the storm sewer system, we'll have them clean it up, clean it thoroughly, and completely seal it, and that way preventing future discharges from happening. And also, some drains don't work properly, so we'll have them fix them, and that way they have proper drainage. And they also, a lot of facilities don't have the proper disposal manifest for all their waste products. We do find other issues that aren't that common. For example, the picture on your left, there was gasoline on their HMI, and it went for a couple of weeks without them knowing. So they had to clean that out, make it work again. And the picture on the right, there's a lot of facilities out there, or there were a lot of facilities that were not really having improper practices causing spillage to the soil, to the ground. So we work with all these people to try to resolve these issues and keep it from happening again. And also, we check their, as mentioned earlier, we check their BMPs, their ponds, and make sure that they're functioning properly, there's no contamination. And occasionally we do find contamination in their ponds. And so we'll just have them, we'll work with the appropriate group and try to resolve these issues and get it back to good working condition. A couple before and after pictures. This facility was inspected and they had a mess. And then after we were done with them, this is what it looked like afterwards. And then another before and after picture. This facility was recently, and after we were done having them clean up all the contaminated soil and all that, this is what it's looking like. But with that, I'll hand it over to Wallace to talk about the MSGP inspections.
All right, thank you, Renee. I think before I start, what I will say is that as we talk about these different types of inspections, you'll notice that we could probably do presentations on each one of these in detail, but we're kind of going over the major points of it. So I figured I'd start off by letting you know exactly what the MSGP permit is. The multi-sector general permit, it regulates stormwater discharges from industrial activity. The MSGP permit is part of the Texas Pollutant Elimination System, or TPDES program, which regulates discharges of pollutants to surface water. TPDES program is derived from the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, for which Texas assumed authority from the EPA to administer on September 14, 1998. The MSGP is a state-issued permit renewed on a 5-year cycle, and the permit applicability for a facility is based on the Standard Industrial Classification Code, or SIC code, which is a 4-digit numerical code issued by the government to identify the primary business activity of an establishment. The SIC code for a business will determine which sector of the MSGP a facility will be classified under. And this slide here kind of goes through the different sectors. There's quite a few of them, sectors A through AD. And all these SIC codes and sectors are listed in the permit itself. These are the most common sectors that are within the city limits of the city of Austin. Sector P, you can see there for land transportation and warehousing. And that's facilities like FedEx, Amazon, UPS shipping centers and warehouses. Sector S is listed as air transportation, and ABIA and associated airlines would fall under this category. Sector AC, or electronic, electrical, photographic, and optical, that's facilities like a semiconductor or Samsung type facilities. Sector N for scrap metal and recycling, that's pretty straightforward. And then Sector E, glass, clay, cement, concrete, and gypsum products. That's facilities like Alamo Concrete and Centex. So these are the 5 most common types of facilities in the city of Austin. What do we look at during these MSGP inspections? A lot of the things we look at are going to be very similar to what Renee spoke about, but generally speaking, these are unannounced type inspections, and we're looking for essentially potential pollutants and that the facility is managing those pollutants appropriately. However, it's helpful to understand that the MSGP permit is broken into 2 parts. So we have the general requirements that all facilities need to follow, and then there's sector-specific requirements that are based on the SIC code for that facility. Overall, the MSGP is about 200 pages, so there's quite a few different requirements in there. For the general permit requirements, we're looking for things like the development of a stormwater pollution prevention plan, which all facilities have to have. And within that stormwater prevention plan, there's requirements such as maintaining a drainage area site map. There's conducting site inspections. The facility has to do that on a regular basis. There's quarterly outfall monitoring. Wherever stormwater would leave a facility, that's have to do their monitoring. There's annual employee training requirements, and then there's also record-keeping requirements. For sector-specific requirements, they will depend on the type of facility, but usually it includes additional monitoring and sampling based on the pollutants specific to that industry or based on the location of the facility. And there may be some additional SWIP or stormwater pollution prevention plan requirements, such as adding specific components on site to the drainage area site map, things like that. So you might be asking, if this is a state permit, well, why is the city doing inspections? Well, the answer is, first and foremost, to support our water quality mission and to minimize pollution to our creeks and lakes. But we also conduct these inspections to comply with the city's MS4 permit that Ryan spoke about earlier. So the city's MS4 permit includes a stormwater management program, which can minimum control measures, or MCMs, which outline how the city will achieve and maintain compliance with the permit. As stated in MCM 5 for industrial and high-risk program, we as a city are required to conduct inspections at these MSGP permitted sites once per permit term to identify facilities that may require coverage in our full-purpose jurisdiction. Facilities that have active MSGP permits are identified through querying the TCEQ Central Registry database and are distributed to our water quality compliance team to conduct an inspection. That may require authorization but have not yet obtained permit coverage, we search the Texas Comptroller's database, which is based on SIC codes that I mentioned earlier, And then we cross-reference that with the TCEQ registered sites. And if there's sites on there that are not permitted or are not listed as having permit coverage, we'll visit those sites to make a determination and for applicability for MSGP coverage. Now, compliance timeframes are given for all inspections that are conducted under the MSGP program, unless a non-compliance violates the city code of ordinances that we enforce. Facilities that do not meet the compliance deadlines that we give them will be referred to the TCEQ for further enforcement. So next, Lauren Parrish will speak to you about municipal operations.
Hi, I'm going to be talking about all of our City of Austin city facilities and operations that are run by the City of Austin or on City of Austin owned properties. So in this slide, I just kind of provided a list of all of our city facilities that we're currently inspecting and the rate of inspection, frequency of inspection, for each of these facilities. There are a total of 97 city facilities at the moment, and basically any of these facilities can fit either under the SDPP permit that Renee talked about or the MSGP permit that Wallace just talked about, or sometimes both. One of the examples that I put here with the photos is some of our service centers that are run by the Fleet Services Department. The photo on the left here is Renee talking to one of the fleet managers about some of the spills going on. You can notice that there's a little bit of absorbent there, but it needs to be further cleaned up in order for it to not impact water quality whenever rains come. On the right there is a trash truck that's leaking. The trash trucks tend to be kind of one of the problems that I see most because a lot of times they catch fire and the fire can impact all of these like leaking fluids and stuff at the service centers. And this all is under the minimum control measure 4 under our stormwater management plan, which is the pollution prevention and good housekeeping for municipal operations. So this is basically just making sure that we are inspecting our own backyard and holding ourselves accountable like we hold our permit holders accountable. Another part of our city facilities is inspecting these unpermitted city properties. A lot of these properties are going to be easements, right-of-ways, flood control properties. I know Watershed has a lot. It's mostly the buyouts that we buy in these flood areas. Parkland, preserves, and basically any kind of city-owned property that's not occupied by staff or has structures on it. If there's any issues observed, we will refer this to the appropriate department, basically whoever owns it, to get that taken care of. And if it's something that needs to be permitted, we will work with them on getting either an SDPP or MSGP permit. And then of these unpermitted city properties, there's 2,200 city-owned properties around the city. And then also part of that is going to be other city activities. The photo on the left here is going to be one of our city pools. We do regulate their discharges when they drain these pools at the end of the year. This one wasn't allowed to be discharged because of the green color, which means it had algae. The pool water basically has to be clean and clear, and Renee will touch more about that later on. But these are specifically just our city-owned public pools. And then the photo on the right there shows a clean discharge. We regulated that it was dechlorinated and all that stuff. So that's something that we take a look at every year whenever the pools close. And that will be it for me. And now I will pass it off to Tom Ennis to talk about pavement sealants.
Hello. So as you see, in 2003, the city of Austin, we passed a ban of coal tar pavement sealants. If you don't know, parking lot seal coats are used to beautify and protect asphalt surfaces. A PAH is the main ingredient of concern or chemical of concern, in these products. And I also want to give a shout out to Aaron Hicks with this, who originally created this graphic that's been used in presentations around the country on this issue. We can't talk about the history of coal tar in Austin without talking about our good friend, inspector and co-worker Tom Bashara. Tom was the first to figure out that coal tar sealants were a source of elevated PAH, and since his passing in 2011, the tributary of Barton Creek where coal tar sediment was initially discovered was named after him. I took this picture of Tom at the old airport where the city partnered with the USGS to study the wash-off of PAHs from sealed test plots. In 2006, the city of Austin became the first community in the nation to ban the use and sale of coal tar sealants in the full purpose city limits and ETJ. We were the trendsetters. Now, today there are bans and restrictions all over the United States with more than 45 million Americans, including the states of Washington, Minnesota, Maine, New York, and Maryland. This year, even Canada is working on a ban. In 2014, the USGS sediment sampling showed a 58% decline in the pH levels in Lady Bird Lake. All good news doesn't mean we don't still have a problem in some of our tributary streams, though. In 2019, we updated the ban because the industry started creating products that were high in PAHs, but were not coal tar containing. This graphic, if you blew it up and you could see it really well, you'd see basically comparing concentrations of PAHs to heights of buildings. The coal tar would be about the size of or height of the One World Trade Center, and the St. Louis's Gateway Arch is about what these new products are like. The typical asphalt product is about the height of a dollhouse, to give you a perspective. The WQC staff tests suspected violations by taking a small sample, as you see in the upper right photo there, while doing routine field work. This test was developed by WPD staff and is used around the country. Those samples are screened using a specific solvent which gives qualitative indicators, mainly color and solubility. It's also referred to as the coffee tea test, to identify the sealant is coal tar based or a high percentage of PAHs or asphalt based. If the screen tests positive, then further steps are taken, such as lab analysis. This universal testing guidelines is something we're doing now with, we've partnered with other states and the US EPA to make sure we're testing the products uniformly. And we've got about a dozen, the city's done about a dozen enforcement actions on folks. And what you see in the lower part of those photos is a technique called shot blasting. It basically means shooting small BBs onto a paved surface to remove the seal coat. That is the primary enforcement mechanism we use. And there's an example of just a strip of it being used off pavement. So thank you, Mateo, for the link in the chat. I'll pass it on to whoever's next. Apologize for not knowing for sure.
That's me again. Our section began, I'm going to talk about semi-public swimming pools. Our section began inspecting semi-public pools in 2018 after receiving multiple complaints through our pollution hotline about discharges from semi-public pools to the street. Semi-public pools are multi-user pools, such as neighborhood pools, apartment complexes, hotels, gyms, swim schools, and city-owned pools. Additionally, we also receive residential complaints through our hotline. The pollutants of concern related to pools are, of course, the pool filter backwash, chlorinated water, and chemical storage, and also spills associated from the storage. Pool filter backwash contains all the material and yuck you don't want in your pool, like sediment, hair, suntan lotions, and who knows what else. The inspections, what we look for is usually we look at the type of filtration system, whether it's a diatomaceous earth, sand, or a cartridge system. We look at how these are plumbed and see where they're discharging to. A lot of the older pools go directly to a storm sewer or waterway. We look at chemical storage and refer any chemical storage to the fire department for a hazmat permit. If problems are found, we issue violations to correct the problems, and then we follow up for compliance. The number of pool-related complaints have gone down since, and again, it started in 2011. So I'm going to pass it over to Peter to talk about the dry weather flow screening.
Hey, y'all. Talk to you about the dry weather screening program. City of Austin's waterways are recipients of discharges that can originate from rainfall, runoff to polluted water discharging from the City of Austin's MS4. The system consists of a large network of underground piping that receive, transport, and discharge to our waterways. The City of Austin is required to have an MS4 permit granted by the TCEQ under the TPDES. Under our MS4 permit, the City of Austin performs preventative measures designed to detect and eliminate illicit discharges, one of which being the dry weather screening program that inspects targeted outfalls during the normally dry weather periods from June to September and aim at looking for dry weather flows. So inspections are carried out on days where the last rainfall was at least 72 hours prior and are of outfalls indicated on a map that had been pre-selected from the DWS database and generated in the S3 Collector app. Originally, the inspections were done on most of the outfalls, but in 2018, a change to the strategy was made to focus on outfalls historically known to have illicit discharges. The dry weather screening program was originally with the Applied Watershed Research section, and a decision was made to move the program to water quality compliance in 2019, since the outfalls found to have a suspected illicit discharge would trigger a spills investigation. So what is considered to be a dry weather flow? Outfalls that have a flow estimated to be greater than 1 gallon a minute during a dry weather period trigger an investigation that consists of gathering samples of water discharging from the outfall, as well as tracking the source upstream aimed at locating the point source. Thankfully, in the past dry weather screening activities, relatively few outfalls were found to have dry weather flow. So what information is gathered? When conducting the DWS, our staff currently use the S3 Collector app. The Collector app allows staff to choose an outfall to inspect by selecting a point on the dry weather screening map, indicating an outfall that has not been inspected yet, and then option for editing will be available, and the fields can be edited with either inputting text or drop-down section, depending on the field. General information will be collected on every inspection and stored in these fields and range from the name of the inspector and date inspected to the pipe size and watershed. Inspections that turn into investigations will have more data fields used for storing sampling results. Information gathered on water that is suspected of being an illicit discharge will be tested for pH, total chlorine, specific conductance, temperature in Celsius, and in addition, bacteria samples are taken for E. coli analysis. After the results have been gathered, they are entered into the fields in the app and stored in the dry weather screening database. Once the inspection and investigation have been completed, there will be an option on the app to submit. And once this is selected, the inspection will be closed and the blue dot will change to a black X, indicating that the location has been inspected. The City of Austin reports the findings annually to the TCEQ, addressing which outfalls were found to have dry weather flow, what the investigations determined the flow consisted of, and what the sources were, and what the enforcement measures were taken. Currently, for this permit, we have committed to inspecting 668 outfalls and are on the path to completing this goal in 2023 when our permit term ends. And with that, I will transfer back over to Renee for the non-stormwater discharge reviews.
Non-stormwater discharges. From time to time, we get requests from contractors, developers, plumbing reviewers, City of Austin residents to discharge non-stormwater to the storm sewer system. We work with them and determine if the discharge is allowed or not. If the discharge is allowed, but the use of BMPs is necessary, we help them determine which ones to use. Non-stormwater discharges require a temporary permit from us to be able to discharge. These discharges are usually a one-time discharge, but there are some exceptions to that, and the permit are for longer duration. Here's a list of a couple of non-stormwater discharges that are allowed. These include things like AC condensate, groundwater, irrigation water, and then a list of discharges that are allowed with conditions. And these include basically ballast water from UST installation. We got swimming pools, construction dewatering, and also, I guess some might need the use of BMPs. And again, we just help them decide which one is best for them. We also have a list of non-stormwater discharges that aren't allowed. And these are things such as like exterior hand washing sinks and showers, power washing, aircraft de-icing, and car wash facilities. Now, these are just examples of some of the types of non-stormwater discharges with conditions. And the way it sits, this is the picture on your left. This water cannot be discharged because it's so muddy. It's got a lot of sediment in it. But with the use of filter bags, silt fencing, they're able to take all the sediment out, and then it's okay to discharge. This is the picture that Lauren showed earlier, the swimming pool, and it's in the state that it's in. It can't be discharged because of the large amounts of algae. This pool, we worked with PARD to reshock this pool and basically get the water real clear, clean. let the water, let the chlorine level dissipate, and then it's allowed to discharge. We've also helped PARD. In this case, they wanted to pressure wash the graffiti off of this dam, but we didn't allow them to pressure wash because it was going to be impossible for them to recover all the wastewater. So they decided to paint over it. The other example of a non-stormwater that wasn't allowed, this construction site on downtown, after digging about 70 feet, they hit a little vein of product that was there from back when Austin first started. And they had a tar looking substance coming out of the side. We didn't allow their discharge, but they installed a charcoal system that basically clears the water up, takes out all impurities, and with the help of sampling, they're allowed to discharge. This is an example of a site that has a temporary discharge, but it's almost like on a permanent basis. So they are inspected every 3 years to make sure they're in compliance with everything. But they also have to turn in their sample results quarterly to the state and us. And this is just them. I guess when we go out there, we inspect the place, have them take a sample for analysis, and then that reported to, again, state and to us. Okay, and now I'll hand it over to Ryan to talk about restaurant and bars.
Okay, thanks, Renee. Yeah, next I want to tell you all a little bit about our inspections of food and bar establishments and what we call the Food Service Environmental Assessment Program. Like the other inspection types, our focus on restaurants and bars was the result of trends we observed and complaints and violations from these types of businesses, which pushed us to then be more proactive. And while the health department visits these same businesses, their focus is limited to issues that could affect human health, whereas our focus is on the business operations that can generate polluting discharges. So not a whole lot of overlap there, and our attempts to partner more with public health and have them checking out some of the environmental issues for us have not panned out real well. So maybe worth looping back on that someday. But right now we're kind of on our own for any kind of environmental issues that come from restaurants and bars. So I'll share a few examples with you of the types of problems that we typically see. Here's a mobile food vendor, and while these types of eateries are treasured in Austin for producing some delicious tacos and other fare, it can also be difficult for these smaller operations to manage their waste streams properly. In this photo, we see wastewater containing a soapy detergent coming from the unit while they're cleaning. In the next photo here, this one was at a brick and mortar restaurant. There's kitchen equipment like these grill grates placed on the curb right next to a storm drain. And in this case, they were blasted off with a degreaser, a hose, pressure washer sometimes, and sending those unwanted contaminants straight into a nearby creek. And we know Austin likes to have a good time, and during festivals like South by Southwest, we often see waste volumes exceeding the capacity of the designed waste streams. There's simply not enough dumpsters in the downtown alleys to contain all those plastic beer cups during these concentrated surges of activity. And my opinion is that fats, oils, and greases make food taste good, but this generates a waste that's notoriously difficult to manage. We see frequent problems from bulk used cooking oil that comes out of deep fryers and then is later hauled away for recycling, or residual grease that becomes part of the wastewater stream during dishwashing. That's typically captured in a grease trap on its way to the sanitary sewer or before entering the sanitary sewer. And in the case of this video I'm going to show, this is grease that became airborne and moved through a kitchen's hood exhaust system above their grills, where once it goes outside, it later settles on the exterior roof of the building, where it's exposed to the next rainstorm, where it'll be washed away. In this image, this is a downspout of a rain gutter system on a building that's known for making some of the best hamburgers in town. You'll see this discharge pass through the owner's very ineffective attempt at a filtration treatment device, and then flow into the alley, where it's later off camera enters a storm drain and then Waller Creek. I'll just play this for you.
That is totally disgusting. Just I gotta say
it. Yeah, disgusting.
Like you can't smell it.
Ineffective filtration here. Don't really even know what that's trying to do. Bucket with a pipe in the end, and you can just see the color of that. Nasty stuff. All right, so that wraps us our overview of some of the different types of inspections that we do here in water quality compliance. And as you can see, they come in many different forms, and hunting down these potential sources of pollution brings us to a real variety of businesses and facilities, different environments all across Austin. Thank you all very much for joining the recorded portion of our meeting.